Welcome, family, to another presentation here on the Juice Bar channel. Please feel free to like and subscribe to content, and we're going right on in to pour that juice. As you see right here, this Pew Research article simply states that the black imprisonment rate in the United States has fallen by a third since the year 2006. This article was written back in May 6, 2020. So 14 years later, after they recognized the falling of the imprisonment rate within the black community, they began to take note, do their research, document this, and present it before the people. And it's clear the black imprisonment rate, incarceration rate, since the year 2006 has been on a consistent and steady decline. You have adjacent articles mimicking, mirroring, echoing the same exact sentiment. The Sentencing Project here outlines, it says that a new report, and this was done in October 11, 2023, the Pew Research 2020, this report in 2023 says a new report finds imprisonment rate of black men has fallen by nearly 50% since the year 2000. The accurate and exact number is 48%, which is still a significant drop. It says new report finds imprisonment rate of black men fallen nearly 50% since the year 2000. I wanted to just take a quick note of the last bit of the title topic article where it says, but pushback threatens continued progress. Be very careful with that. Be very careful with that language. But pushback threatens continued progress. It almost suggests that the progress was intentional, that the incarceration and the imprisonment rate within the black community, the decline is by design, and I suggest otherwise. Are you following me? This article is presenting truth. It's saying that the incarceration rate has dropped since the year 2000. But that last bit, but pushback threatens continued progress, it almost makes it sound as if this consistent and steady decline has been by design, and it has not been. In fact, we're going to take a look at as to why this decline is going on. The next article echoes, mirrors the same sentiment as the previous articles. It says the incarceration rates for black men and women have been declining once again since the year 2000. Again, we see right here where it says reform efforts are helping. You see that? Once again, just as the previous article suggested, it wants to say that these declines have been by design. And I'm saying that these declines were actually unintentional, but nonetheless, still prevalent, still truthful, but unintentional. And that's why I'm very careful as I read these articles and I break some of these things down. Okay, let's get to the numbers. Let's get to the stats. Let's get to the stats presented to us by the Washington Post. Let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, so we got right here figure 22 between the year 2000 and 2010. It says marijuana use among 18 to 25-year-old by race. So the pink represents the white, the black represents the black. And you see that for each year from 2001 to 2010, you see that the white graphic has used more marijuana consistently over the years than their black counterparts. So it shows marijuana use among 18 to 25-year-old white people is higher than it is for 18 to 25-year-old black people. As the first graph. The second graph right here shows marijuana use by race for those that have never used marijuana. And so this graph actually holds true to the previous graph, and where you see the black demographic, their percentage is higher than their counterparts in this regard for those that have never used marijuana. So the previous graph showed that the white demographic was using more marijuana. This graph is showing that more black people have never used marijuana. Okay, that's what that graph shows. Coming on down. Now this graph right here shows the arrest rates for marijuana possession. Okay, so the previous ones already showed it is the white people who use marijuana more. It is black people who use marijuana less. However, when it comes down to the arrest rates, we see the flip side. And it's not just the flip side, it's an exacerbated, disproportional flip side. Because now, when you see the black arrest rates in the year 2001, it is almost doubled, if not tripled, that of the white ones. Same as 2002, 2003, 2004, and when you get to 2007, it's almost quadrupled. 2008, 2009, 2010, almost quadrupled. Be mindful, there was times in this country before the year 2010, 2012, where states like Massachusetts, California, Colorado, where they began to legalize recreational marijuana usage, and before the time period where you had legalized dispensaries and where people were selling marijuana for profit legally, and a time period before marijuana was used medicinally. Okay? So a lot has taken place regarding marijuana laws from the year 2010 to the year 2023. I just outlined some of those things right there. And so now, in the midst of these transitions, what you are bearing witness to is you're seeing the profiting of marijuana sales through legalized dispensaries as states, 24, 25 of them, legalize recreational marijuana. Okay? In addition to that money coming in, there was also other drugs coming in, real drugs. We see marijuana as a medicinal plant, very similar to other herbs which grow from the ground by the grace of the one living God. But when you talk about the trunk or the trank and the fentanyl and the opioids and the heroin and the epidemic that America is being confronted with right now, when those drugs begin to come onto the scene, people began to clearly see and could differentiate the difference between a medicinal plant and a full outright addictive, highly addictive drug. And so now when you look at Kensington, or you Google Kensington on YouTube, or you Google Kensington on the internet, one of the first things that pops up is the people who are strung out, who are highly addicted to these highly addictive opioids, synthetic drugs, fentanyl and trunk, and such like. So now it's difficult to say, oh, marijuana does this, marijuana does that, marijuana is bad for this, marijuana is bad for that, when at the same time you see people nodding off in the middle of the street from their drug addiction. Not their marijuana addiction, from their drug addiction. And people now selling legally. And then the actual showing of a real drug, that's another reason why you begin to see these laws become very laxed. More and more lax. And as they become more and more laxed, you see the policing of the black population or the black community also on the decline. Now, with all that being said, what has now transpired is the incarceration rates, the imprisonment rates of the black community on the drastic decline. And be mindful, as I said before, when you talk about the incarceration rates over the years, most people, black people included, when they go to jail, they're going to jail not for violent crimes. They're going for non-violent crimes. And so we have this report right here by the Citizen Project again. This is a federal prison population, a statistical analysis. And what they analyze, come right on down here, is very simple. The composition of the federal prison population, mostly nonviolent. Nearly 3/4, 72% of the population are nonviolent offenders with no history of violence. Most people, when they go to jail, they learn violence, they learn criminality while they're behind bars many times. And so this will happen. 72% of people going to jail, they are going there for non-violent crimes. And we know that the jails are disproportionately filled with Black Americans. And it applies to them as well. Most times when they are going to jail, they're going for non-violent crimes. Non-violent crimes such as marijuana usage or marijuana possession. And when those laws begin to relax, you begin to see less and less people, Black people specifically, go to jail. It's just that simple. There were no reforms. There were no policies. A lot of this was indirect. Indirect. Not intentional, but indirect. And that's why we suggest strongly here on this side of the channel, you are bearing witness to the lower numbers of the incarceration rate. Well, we're all for it over here. We remember distinctive times in American society where they had radio and TV service announcements criminalizing marijuana. We remember times where you could literally be walking down the street with a roach in your pocket and you very well may be going to jail that day if that cop decided to stop and to frisk you. If you have it on your possession, that is considered classified as an illegal narcotic, and off to prison you will go. This was going on for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, family. This was going on for a very long time. Very long time. They criminalized marijuana through the laws. The laws attacked the Black community. Once they saw that it was more profitable to open up the selling and the distribution of marijuana rather than just incarcerate a few Black people, then that's when they began to change their federal and state policies. But that's not the reform, and that's not the policies which were directed or intended for the betterment of the Black community. Let's be clear on that. You see what I'm saying? They can suggest what they want to suggest as to why the incarceration rates are dropping. They can say it's this, they can say it's that. I'm telling you firsthand, as a Black American, it is from the marijuana laws being relaxed. It is just that simple. And be mindful, it was the marijuana laws which were originally designed to attack the Black community. That's why the incarceration rates for many years were disproportionately high on the side of the Black community because of these non-violent crimes mainly surrounding around marijuana. And now look at it now. Look at America now. You can literally drive down the street, see a line wrapped around the corner for people lining up to go get their marijuana. And the cops are standing right there watching, giving them the thumbs up. You can literally turn the radio on and hear old white women talk about how marijuana has helped to ease their pain. And I'm all for it because I know of the medical and the medicinal characteristics of marijuana. You can literally walk down the streets of New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, see old white men, old white women, old Black women, old Black men vaping, smoking marijuana. There's no mystical thing at all. It's very simple. Laws can make you go to jail. Laws can keep you out of jail. But if the laws are written in a certain way, and if they target a certain people in a certain way, then you're going to see a disproportionate rate of incarceration and imprisonment. Just that simple. And once the laws finally correct themselves and get themselves in better ordinance with the people, then you see better things, better practices, better policies, better living conditions going forward. It's very simple. No man should be in jail for smoking a plant. And you should not be in fear of having to go to jail